be dispelled. Let all pain and suffering be dispelled.
Well, hello and welcome. It's lovely to have you here. If you're new and you haven't been before, I would love to explain to you how this is going to go, but to be honest with you, it's always a surprise to me as well. This is something I've been doing really for about 30 odd years or more. The online version, obviously only more recently, but this sort of gathering, or facilitating a gathering of my sisters and brothers on the path. We come together and we sit together in what the Vedas describe as our authenticity or our truth. And that's what the meaning of satsang is, an old Sanskrit word. I'm quite a slut when it comes to my existentialism, my spirituality. So although my template is profoundly Taoist based or Taoism based, and has been since I was about 11 years old, mostly through the study of martial arts and medicine and what have you. I also studied humanistic existentialistic psychotherapy with R.D. Laing, the great and brilliant maverick who turned the whole world of psychotherapy on its head in the late 60s. And I lived with the Indians in northern New Mexico for 4 years and did a lot of yoga and done a lot of kirtan and chanting and been to different gurus and ashrams around India and what have you. So I feel, why not use the word satsang? It's a lovely word actually when you get used to it. Some people think it's samsung, some people sitsong. But satsang, sitting together in our truth. Now, this is not an intellectual endeavor. We don't have to dismantle ourselves to sit in truth by doing something weird with our minds. The beauty, for me at least, of this Taoist system is that it gives you a set of pragmatic steps for resituating yourself within your own body. The body is taken as the arena for all your experience, and so you feel your way through life. It doesn't mean you're not thinking, of course we're always thinking, but you're thinking from a different place inside, so that the quality and also the content of the thought is far deeper, more profound, broader, from a more panoramic perspective, as well as giving you the opportunity to focus in on details. This will all become apparent as we get into the meditation part. Well, I said I don't know what's going to happen. The first part is always me just talking about the theme of the week, just to set it up, the rationale. You have to forgive me for the phone's ringing. I can't control it. I'm not in my own house. But it will stop behind me. So just let the phone sound be a reminder that how we're all totally connected through all different media, including telepathy, of course. If I could, I'd telepathize whoever it was phoning, totally piss off, and that's it. It worked. Beautiful. And threw me right off my track for a moment, so I don't know what I was talking about. Oh, yeah. What happens is that for the first bit, I talk about theme, and after I've set my stall up, if you like, and that is not me being didactic. It's not me imposing any sense of absolute truth on anyone. I wouldn't deign to do that. But I'm just suggesting an angle, a stance, which may or may not resonate. And then at a certain point, launch into a different mode, which is the meditation mode. Now, if we were sitting together, there would be the opportunity, and it would be appropriate to sit in silence. And occasionally, I remember to leave a moment or two of that when we're doing this. But it's like I grew up doing this kind of audio thing on radio, and in radio the number one rule is never leave dead air, and that went in very, very deep at a relatively early age. I find it very, very difficult to just leave dead air when we're doing something like this. But that's not the point. My guidance, which is completely extemporized, it's not thought through, I haven't scripted it or anything, it's to just entrain your mind into an avenue that it feels comfortable going into. If it doesn't, it won't go there. Which for me, over the years of working with people and myself, have somehow proven to be the most viable avenues to channel the focus, to achieve an altered state, an awareness of a deeper dimension, bigger dimension. The glimmers of the subatomic realm, whence the Tao, as the Chinese call it, expresses itself here in the material world. This guidance, or whatever you want to call it, can be just taken as ambient sound in the background, if you like. You know, you can just let yourself drift. That's totally fine. The sense of togetherness occurs. Well, look, we're blessed to have this technology, of course, but this actually really serves as just a symbol of telepathic link that we're achieving as a result of it, but in any case. And through that, there's an awareness, a shared awareness of the Tao, of the ineffable, inexplicable cause of everything, should we call it. And from that, magic occurs. I don't know why. Well, I could come up with 100 theories, but it doesn't really matter. It's just obvious that something happens. It's like the air quality shifts, the light shifts, and it triggers a run of what we would call miracles. These are sort of, quantum events, serendipitous events that occur through the agency of other people, though, if you like, sent by the Tao, as our rewards for taking part in what really amounts to a service, an act of service. Because by us coming together to do this, we create what I see as like a dome of energy, exponentially, what you call it, greater than the sum of its parts, that radiates outwards to all sentient beings. So it's to the benefit of everybody, and our reward for being here together to do that is that we get goodies, we get miracles happen to us. I've seen this over the years. It invariably works. And it's a beautiful thing to be part of and to observe. So this session is about loving each other. Excuse me, I'm reading my own script here from email I sent out. Every sister and brother is precisely what we came here for and what we yearn and burn for. And by shining the golden light of magic healing here, we'll increase the flow of all that and in turn enrich our lives a lot more, says Barefoot. The love that you feel for your partner, the love that you feel for your lover, the love that you feel for your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your uncle, your auntie, and whoever else, your friends, your close friends, your broader circle of acquaintances, your colleagues. It might not always feel pleasant. It often doesn't. That's more the difference between liking someone and not liking them in the moment. The love is the envelope in which it all occurs. And it's an indefinable quality, of course. I mean, you can't say what love is anymore. You can say what the Tao of God is. You can kind of allude to what it does rather than what it is. And love seems to me to be it's the milieu or the envelope in which everything travels, consciousness and energy. It travels within the milieu of love. Love is the love of life. It's the love of being. It's the love that makes itself want to express itself as a universe or a multiverse. I don't know if you ever looked at that Hubble telescope, but with all the pictures, the photographs from the Hubble telescope of galaxies and so on. It's utterly remarkable, and the shapes that form out of the dust clouds in space that are bigger than any of us can conceive of really do look like archangels and god faces, all sorts of things. It's a remarkable phenomenon, and the force that wants to express itself so powerfully that it bursts from the tiniest subatomic particle in the densest, most nothing into, bang, all of this. That's love. Now, love, as you can tell from that, is ferocious as well as it is soothing. you know, when galaxies collide, or when a star is born, or a supernova, or a black hole sucks a galaxy into itself, or, you know, it's ferocious, this love. It's not just soothing, but it's also beautiful. If you look around, the sunshine, the you know, the relative order that we've managed to create and maintain on this planet till now, and the way things work, and the fact that we can be here, we have bodies and minds to appreciate it, and that we can feel this care for each other, an instinctual care for each other. It's so soothing and so beautiful, and the ferocity of it all must be acknowledged, but it doesn't have to be added to. It can certainly, it seems, if we do have free will, if that isn't just an illusion, who knows, but if we do have free will, one of the fundamental choices we have is to let this care happen, let this love flow, and to receive each other at a soul level, as sisters and brothers and partners, as family. It doesn't matter if it's a friend or a lover, or you know, love expresses itself as the other variations of desire and need and all the rest of it, depending on the situation, who it is and what it is. But I've just been hanging out with my friend Sonny Spruce, who last time I saw him till this visit was 30 odd years ago, about 31 years ago, and he's an Indian guy, a Native American, who is a dancer, as he does the sacred dances, and 67 now, and he's a deeply spiritually awake man, who was responsible for introducing me into the whole law of the Native American way, certainly of that tribe, and the relationship with what they call Great Spirit, the Great Spirit in everyone and in everything, and how it's talking to you all the time, that everything that happens is the Great Spirit talking to you. And what I was going to say, if we have free will, it's that we can choose for that conversation to be a soothing, a mutually nurturing one. And although the Great Spirit, the Tao, God, whatever you want to call it, expresses itself as us, that's what we are. We're like flowers that grow out of the ground. You call that nature. It's exactly the same. We're expressions of nature. We're expressions of the Tao. Having a mutual conversation, if you like, is an illusion, because there's only one of us here, really. But at the level of illusion where we find ourselves, where it appears that we are separate entities, it's as if we can have a much more fluid dialogue with it, and it can be a loving one, as in a soothing, mutually nurturing one. And it likes it. It needs us to make that choice, it seems. As if we don't, it'll do the other thing with us. So it's like we can choose for it to be a beautiful, soothing dialogue. And that's one of the things we're doing here. So, yeah, I'm talking to him. We haven't... The cultural differences were always astonishing. I mean, I don't think he'd ever met an English guy when I pitched up there back in 1979. And certainly not a hardened North Londoner with this cynical or sense of deep irony, often expresses frivolity. I used to sort of frivolous irony that I'd throw in conversations, followed by sort of sudden flights of metaphysical explanations of how the cosmology of everything works, which he'd look at me, listen to me, and then just say, I don't need to hear that shit. Because he was already in it. He didn't need to hear how it works. He was in it already. But the frivolity at the beginning, he just really threw him, because he never encountered anything as bizarre as that, really. It's just not in his frame. But through, you know, that exchange that occurred, this bizarre, quirky exchange of two guys from completely different cultures, yet with really similar soul vibrations, almost identical, it came this lovely exchange. So when I saw him this time, I knew he was going to say it. I'd heard it in my head for 30 years. Every day I thought of him, and every day we didn't do phones and emails. I still don't with him. I don't want to. It's like it's too sacred, all that relationship. And I knew we'd be standing at his place, looking out over at the view, and he'd say to me, "It's really changed here. Like they've been building all over the mesa. The town's become kind of shishi. It's aware of itself. You know, these kind of hippie signs pointing to bio cafes and raw food this, and you know, metaphysical art studios and this and that and the other, and packed with tourists and that. And I knew he was going to say it, man, it's changed here. He was going to say it exactly like he said it. I go, yeah, I knew you were going to say that. I said, it has, but if you just saw how the rest of the war's got in the last 30 years, man, it's nothing. This is just like, you've got a very livelihood. But nonetheless, the fact that there is a bustling, albeit small and discreet casino now on land, and that has paid for all these sort of younger tribe members to move out of the 1,000-year-old adobe pyramid apartment buildings, and you can't blame them, and build themselves like nice-ish or nice modern houses with televisions and all the rest of it. It changes it. The reservation doesn't look like it did anymore. And the biggest thing, and this is what I said to him, I said, the biggest thing, man, is the hairstyles. I mean, they don't wear the hair in those two kind of pigtails with the braid around it anymore. I said, that's no good. And he laughed, and I said, no, seriously, it's all about the hairstyles. That's what it was always about for me. It was never anything deep. It was just the hairstyles, man. And now they're not doing that. I don't know. This is bad. I think we're bringing John Frieda over here to restyle everybody. I mean, he laughed because he got it. I mean, we just fell back right into the group. Now, in that laughter and looking in each other's eyes after 30 years, being totally in the same group again with each other, that love, it is so beautiful. It's so rich. It is indescribable. And then I walk away from there because you don't stand there all day doing that. And there is that pull, that beautiful pull. And as you let it go, you're back in the everything again with the love of the everything in you and all around you. And by and by, you start to see that the whole thing is the Tao with a myriad of masks, loving itself, and therefore that no one particular form of it needs to be clung onto. Everyone can let go with grace, however painful it may appear before you do it. Everyone can let go of with grace because there is actually no separation. This is the sensation which is my intention to elicit. And I say especially now because there is growing noise of dislocation, shall we say, occurring on the planet. And the only way that darkness can be overcome is with light. You can't destroy darkness. You only need a small candle flame to extinguish the darkness in an entire room. So the light is actually much stronger than the dark, i.e. the dark can be big and noisy, but you only need a little bit of light that will overcome all the dark. Now this is, I don't mean to wax romantic or idealistic. It's not about that. We can't stop the turn of history. We can't stop destiny. There's always the yin and the yang. There's always the dark and the light. These two must work cyclically together to produce what we perceive as the world. But we can add to the light. This is something the Hopis always stress, that the strife that occurs on the planet on every level, not just geopolitically, militarily, but also seismically and climatically, and in every other system you can think of, economic, whatever, is a reflection of a battle occurring, a continual battle occurring in the heavenly realm, shall we say, between the force of dark and the force of light, between the yin and the yang. And what we can do is add to the light. That's what we're doing here. And as I say, it doesn't have to be a big spectacular burst of brightness. It just needs to be a candle flame, as long as it's burning there, as long as it's not going to get blown out. And that's why it's important for us to come together to do this, not just for our own sake. Now, what we're going to do here today is, I call it golden light. It comes from a school of Taoism that was focused on what they called the golden flower, which is a metaphor for what occurs within you when you undergo the Taoist inner alchemical process, as I do teach in School for Warriors. And this process is essentially to transmute raw energy into psychoactive chi, and then psychoactive chi into pure spirit. And through that is developed the so-called immortal spirit body, which is an energetic vehicle, a shape, that is said to carry you into the next dimension when you leave your body at the end of this ride. I have actually faced death 3 or 4 times in my life, very, like a hair's breadth away from it. And my experience of those events was a sense of an integrity, a certain inner integrity that had nothing to do with Stephen the personality, Stephen the mask. It was the deeper identity, held intact somehow by the practice. And the result of this they call poetically the golden flower. And the golden light, again, is actually metaphorical. I'm not going to suggest that you actually transmit a golden light, not one that anyone could prove was there or see. It's metaphorical, but it's a beautiful image, the golden light, and it helps you train the mind appropriately. What we're actually doing is intending an energy wave to be transmitted from us, from our persons, to a particular destination or to an outcome, and to affect our chemical changes in the plane of reality. So in today's session, that's into that we're going to be shining the golden light, so to speak, the healing light, the light of consciousness with love informing it, into the field, connecting you to all those you love and all those you ever love, i.e. people you don't even know yet. And not just you, but everybody here, me and all of us. And through doing so, to cleanse, specifically to cleanse the field, to purify it, to refine it, and to ignite new levels of flow within it. And what I mean by what are we actually going to be cleansing or purifying? Well, through insecurity and loss of inner core strength, a lack of centeredness, a feeling of being removed from, or an unawareness of now, or whatever you want to call that, the deepest self, or through, say, unacknowledged and hence unprocessed separation anxiety, we tend to spill, or abandonment anxiety, rejection anxiety, all the rest of it, we tend to spill our toxic chi into the field. We project our lack, our deficit into the field, and that distorts the connection with those we love. And we project our own deficit, say, of self-love, our deficit of self-approval, of self-validation into the field. And actually, that's why last week's session we attended to the whole issue of self-love. And we'll actually touch back on that this week, because if you can make whole that relationship with yourself, if you can actually learn to start being kind to yourself moment to moment, i.e., and that's subtle stuff, it's insidious, the unkindness, letting yourself breathe fully for a start. I mean, the only reason we inhibit our breathing is because we don't like ourselves enough or love ourselves enough to go, come on, you can breathe, you can do this, it's your entitlement. And everything that goes with that, letting yourself be fully fed on the in-breath by everything that is, and releasing the breath with full trust. All of this is comes from loving ourselves. But the deficit of self-love and the deficit of self-approval, self-validation, and so on, that we haven't processed, we project into the field that connects us with everyone we love. So it's important that we touch on that and make a little intention to be whole. We project our deficit of self-entitlement into the field. And that's actually why we did the money session the first week. And actually we'll touch on that one again, just because money is the symbol of everything that we suppose supports us on the material plane. It is only that, it's just a symbol of it. But nonetheless, that whole setup, the material plane setup has to be attended to before anything else can. You can't very well love anybody, including yourself, if you're not here. So you've got to keep yourself alive, and you've got to keep your show on the road. So it's important that we touch on this stuff, not just be airy-fairy about it. Meantime, people, no matter the context, personal, professional, social, no matter what, in fact, not just people, dogs even, can be hard to accommodate up close all the time in your face, living their life all over yours. It doesn't matter who they are, best friends, pets, people, anyone, lovers, parents, children, whoever, anyone who's just too up close for a long period or too long period of time. It becomes difficult for the two of you. mostly because there's so much information flying back and forth on an unconscious level. And it's all about boundary negotiation, which is, it's quite an exacting thing to continually be negotiating your boundaries. And then there's the inevitable betrayals, they might be tiny ones, transgressions, and all that sort of stuff. It's challenging for everybody. The key is to know the person is but a mask of the infinite divine informing them. So if each of us is a manifestation of Tao, of God, of whatever you want to call it, the key is to remember that, so that no matter how someone is presenting to you, whether it's absolutely gloriously or absolutely terribly, that person is merely a mask of the divine that's informing them, and that is limitless and infinite. It's just a disguise being worn to expedite theatre, living theatre, for whatever reason, in that moment. It's just a front for the presence itself. And the trick is to see past the disguise to the presence behind it, and to love that, and let it love you. So we're not talking here about the shape of somebody, the effect of somebody, the act of somebody, how nice somebody is loving you and you loving them. What we're talking about here is the presence informing all of that, that no preferences, no prejudices, no acts, no pretension. It just is. It's the divine is. That in them, you're loving that from that in you, and letting them, that presence in them, love you. And that is what does the miracles. That is the healing trick, really. At first, it definitely seems that each person you love, each separate person you love, is a separate, discrete entity. But once you see beyond the mask each of us is wearing, it's clear, even if it's just a glimmer of it, that there's actually only one entity here. There's just one presence here with an infinite multiverse of masks dancing with itself. That's what it's doing. It's playing hide and seek with itself. It's doing this elaborate dance, so catch me if you can, with itself. And it has to make it convincing. It has to make it tricky. It has to make it now you see it, now you don't. Because if it didn't, and I'm talking all the way to the physicists at CERN, finding the God particle and still not finding it, because if it didn't make it difficult, the game would be up and the whole universe would disappear. It wouldn't be able to play with itself anymore, i.e. it would stop existing as we know it. And according to the Vedas, it one day will, and does it regularly. Brahma, the Supreme Being, breathes out and a universe is born, or a multiverse is born, of however many zillions of billions or trillions of years later it is. Brahma breathes in again and the whole universe disappears, and because Brahma's continuing to breathe in and out, according to the Vedas, this will just continue happening, which is a lot to grok with the intellect. So having briefly revisited the ignition of fresh wealth in all senses 2 weeks ago, and then self-love, and I don't mean in the narcissistic sense, what we'll do then is we'll set about purifying and cleansing the field of all insecurities and prejudices, grudges from former unresolved transgressions or boundary negotiations that we've inadvertently infected it with, and also the same that the other has infected it with in our respect. And then, as I see it, we'll up the intensity and the amplitude of the flow in the field. So the intensity and amplitude of the flow of love in the field will be increased. And then we'll look beyond the masks to the presence in everyone that we love, and let ourselves swim freely in the love, informing the field that connects us to it and to each other. And we'll allow the love coming from it to us to penetrate more fully to every cell of our minds and bodies. So we'll be swimming in the love of the one presence, and we'll be soaking it in and allowing it to penetrate more fully. And we'll refresh and reinvigorate the flow so that it heals and refines the relational dynamic i.e. it resets the boundaries, redresses any former imbalances of power, undoes all the web of manipulations and dispels all the grudges between us and all the people we each make our orbits with. Whether we're talking about lovers or partners or children or parents or siblings or friends or colleagues or acquaintances or whatever, and all those that we don't even know yet destined to enter our orbits in the future, which I find personally a lovely and exciting thought. By the time we're done today, our collective field and individual fields will be, in my intention, so radiant with the golden light of love, the inevitability of a slew of unprecedented miracles in each our ambits and by extension in the world all about is fairly assured, I'd say. So that's the schema. If it sits well with you, this will be the moment to let go of yourself, by which I mean, and this is what I was talking about before, the set of steps or protocols. Let's start off with the basic headline, relax, by which I mean this. Become aware of your body, close your eyes, and get a sense of how you're holding yourself, how you're sitting, which bits of you are rigid, which bits of you are soft, how are you breathing, what's your posture like, how does it feel being you inside this body? Are you mostly in the front of your body where all the noise is going on, or are you more in the back of your body just watching it all happen? Or are you more on one side of the body, not on the other? Or actually are you pretty much outside your body altogether? Just a kind of a sense of a reading. And just doing that gives you psycho-emotional distance from yourself enough to observe, and then you become the presence observing rather than that which is observed, or as well as. And in this process of creating space, give yourself the permission or the command to stop holding your breath, relax your diaphragm, the upper abdominal area, and let your breath start to flow more slowly, more smoothly, more deeply, more uninterruptedly, more like silk being reeled from a cocoon. Aware, just on the most basic level, that this is actually the golden elixir itself. This is life. When you can't breathe anymore, you die. So every breath is life's commitment to you. It's promised to you that there's at least one more moment to come. So this is the gift of all gifts, really, is the breath. So just having a thought to that, to luxuriate in it, not just take it for granted, and let your belly swell as it comes in, and then just pull the belly back a little bit to the spine to push the air out again. Then relax the belly. It kind of swells up a bit, the air comes in, and then you just exert a little bit of will and force, and you draw the muscles back to the spine, and that pushes the air out again. And you just do that gently like a baby breathing, no strain, no effort. Once the breathing is a little bit more flowy, then you can start looking at your muscles, and wherever you find yourself rigid, holding on, being tense, for no reason at all, and actually as we sit here now there is no reason at all, just give the command to that muscle group, just say, muscle group, relax. With an out breath, just let the tension drain away, just soften from the crown of the head all the way down the body. You could imagine a rich golden fluid moving through you, if you like, which had the magical properties of deep relaxation in it, and it just makes every cell let go, all the way to your bone marrow. So you feel softer now. It doesn't have to be a long drawn process, any of this. Now attend to the frame itself, because this is like the walls of the laboratory, if you like, or the structure of the circus tent, the arena in which this is all going on. And if you were in the big top and the main ridgepole in the middle, or the main strut, the main support in the middle, that was whatever it's called, was all crooked, you'd be a bit worried because the roof might cave in on you, especially if it had just rained or snowed or whatever. To counter which, imagine, if you like, somebody has very kindly, gently attached a hook to the crown of your head, tied to which is an invisible thread, and they're very gently winching the crown of your head with the rest of you underneath it upwards towards the ceiling, which you'll notice immediately, if you just do it with your mind, not with force, it provides more length at the back of the neck for a start, and this actually travels all the way along the spinal column. So the spinal column is more elongated and therefore more with more propensity to align itself vertically, i.e. perpendicularly to the ground, which makes you into the most efficient antenna for universal information that you can be. It brightens the mind and it gives you more dignity, which literally means uprightness. With the spine more elongated, therefore more lightness of being, allow the shoulder girdle to drop and then drop again and then drop again. This is like dropping the burden of your illusory life story. Just let it go. And let the shoulders broaden out as well. Just let there be more space between the two shoulders. And lift the breastbone without arching your back, just a tiny, tiny bit, as if lifting it towards your chin, the tip of your chin, so it's kind of coming upwards and a bit forwards diagonally. This is a gesture of rising up to all that is grand, noble, and beautiful, and gracious, and real. And now you can see how your musculature is able to hang off that frame better and relax more. You can keep breathing. Let the weight of the head, the physical weight of the head, the shoulders and so on, which is considerable, drop where it wants to go, down into the lower part of the body. So you get a nice feeling of whoosh, sinking. You won't slump because the crown of your head is being winched up still to the ceiling. So you have this wonderful lightness kind of urging itself through the crown of the head towards the heavens. This beautiful breath going out through the shoulders. You could picture, if you like, the crucifix, but without any associations to being nailed or hurt in any way. Because what it was originally intended as a symbol for was the crossbar going through the heart and the vertical bar going through the spine, met at the heart center, and there was a sense of breath going out into infinity on either side of the heart, and length going into infinity in either direction, either end of the vertical pole. And now this is the big move, and this is the most important thing I could probably ever impart. Certainly that has been the most important thing I've ever discovered or benefited by. It's not spectacular, I warn you. It's a very subtle, discreet little maneuver, but nonetheless it's the most powerful tool I've ever encountered, albeit that it has to be done within the context of what we've just done, or it's a bit floaty, but it still would work even without all that preamble. We tend to be drawn forwards in our bodies because our sense organs face forwards, and therefore we perceive the world going on in front of us. And the world is a challenging place. We've known this since we first arrived on the planet. I mean our human species. And that biological wiring for real danger is still what's running us, even though the dangers have been outsourced to a large extent, at least for the time being. Nonetheless, that energy is still running, and because we're making sure that we're going to survive and so on, the intuitive thing, albeit not the wisest thing, it turns out, is to go forwards inside the skin, to be in front of yourself, to meet with it. You're closer to it, you've got more handle on it, it would seem. However, when you come forwards and you like this, you're meshing with the tension in your solar plexus, which is processing information at a ferocious rate. You're meshing with the incessant conversation in the front of the brain that's devoted to describing the world around you and to evaluating your prospects in relation to it, most of which is spurious, subjective, and wrong. It's fantasy and generates all sorts of problems, not just in your emotional state, but in the world at large when writ collectively. So there's that noise in the forebrain, and then there's peristaltic motion, the digestive system, the heartbeat, the lungs. It's a noisy place, the front of the body, and relatively vulnerable and weak. There are a lot of soft targets there. And yet that's where we choose to be, in the noise. So we become noisy, we become a little frantic, we become a little disjointed, we become choppy like the world around. What the masters learned to do millennia ago, and this is most evidently useful in martial arts situations and is where this training originally derived, nonetheless is fundamental to the whole practice, is to sit in the back instead. The back is silent relatively, the back is strong, much stronger than the front, relatively invulnerable aside from the kidney region and a bit of the back of the neck. And there's not much going on in there really, except strength and silence and stillness. When you sit in the back, you also become strong and silent and still, which is a much better mode to carry yourself in the face of challenges. You can think much better, you can handle the work from a much more authoritative, in-command position. Very much see it like the queen or the king of the realm, sitting right back in the throne, which is always placed in the throne room, which is always placed at the rear of the palace, with many guards and minions in between you and front gates, or the front doors, so that you don't actually have to interface with a lot of effort with the world around you. You just give commands, and that's what it's like when you occupy your own back. You are able to command your own body and your own actions with far more efficiency and ease and less energy expenditure. Decision-making processes are much clearer, and more importantly, you're in touch with all the wisdom and experience you've gleaned from the ineffable privilege of having had a past, and in a big dimension even than that, you're in touch with the energy of the ancestors outside of linear time, who are responsible for your being here, all of us, and some of whom you have great resonance with across time and space, and who are still rooting for you, or doing it on their behalf, on a DNA basis, if for nothing else. And they form this combination of your own past wisdom and the sense of a past lineage forms a protective sheath around you called the guardian. And that's important. And even more profoundly important than that, however, is this model, this idea that what you are, what I am, what each of us is, as I said before, is just a mask. It's like the tiniest tip of an iceberg that is so huge it's unfathomable. And that's behind you. That's the presence, the big background presence, the Tao. And it's sitting behind you at all times. Now, the Taoists always suggested what they call backward flowing motion. They said the natural way of humankind is to rush forwards, firstly into the front of the body and then into life. What are you rushing for, and where are you rushing to? The planet is already moving at 66,000 miles an hour. The galaxy is already moving at half a billion miles an hour. And the power of that is enough, surely. That's fast enough. Where are we rushing to? Well, actually, we're rushing to death. Why do that? So what the Taoists, who are always very interested in longevity, suggested was that you flow backwards instead. And the more you learn to flow backwards and backwards and backwards, firstly within you, and then beyond your own skin, backwards into background presence, the more you back into the presence, the more you're backing away from death, if you like, the younger you get as you get older, certainly the more youthful. I can attest to that. And the other interesting factor is if you imagine yourself on an aeroplane taking off on the runway, as you reach critical speed, you experience G-force and are thrust back in the seat. Well, conversely, according to this model, the more you thrust back in your seat, so to speak, the faster you'll go. In other words, the more freely and unobstructedly the adventure will develop. So if you could visualize your shoulder blades now, feel them, and the front of your spine, feel it, and your rear pelvic bones, feel them, and your sacral bone, feel that, and just get the sense of leaning your presence back into that, like you're leaning into the throne, the back of the throne. All the while the weight's dropping down into the lower part of the body, so you're not having to do that thing of, upright bipedalism. You can relax, just let yourself sink. Your frame is solid and powerful and expanded. Your muscles are soft and relaxed. Your breathing is flowing and fluid. And your presence is now in your back. It's not no spectacular sensation. It's very subtle. The more we learn to do this, the more power we have, the more life unfolds magnificently. It's hard to learn to do all the time because, as I say, the front bit is very compelling. So we oscillate, but the more we can oscillate backward, the stronger this sensation grows and eventually transforms your entire existence for the better. And right now, just let yourself sit right back inside and tilt your head back a little bit. This is just a gesture, of course. Imagining that the skull is a cave with a floor in it, a smooth floor, maybe one of those ones that's been concreted over, and with that varnish of concrete, and it makes it a bit rubbery as well, that stuff. And you know, like it's a cave that's been discovered and done. And you're tilting your head back a bit, and you're slid back. Your mind is obliged to slide back because the floor's tilting until it bumps up against the rear wall of the skull, where pleasantly somebody has left a pile of very nicely arranged, beautifully designed, colourful, ethnic-y, sort of well-made, well-stuffed silk and satin cushions of the most beautiful hues. Very inviting and not too slippery, so you can actually kind of put them into a nice pile and sit on them properly with a few behind your back. So you're leaning back into the cave wall, and you're right at the back of the cave now. It's like a little Buddha with your face on it. And underneath all of that, down the mountain, there's this, you know, going down through the mountain, there's this presence that is you, that is connected to the presence behind you that is everything. And now, from the back of you, if you will open the heart area, by which I mean visualize the two halves of your breastbone separated vertically as like a pair of sliding doors, each sliding outwards now to open up and reveal in the psychic cavity of your chest, should we say, what appears to be something like a beautiful rainbow-coloured haze around a cluster of mythical lotus flowers which support a cluster of precious jewels, rubies and garnets and so on, amethyst and the like, and amber too, which between them all are emitting a beautifully fragrance, radiance, a glow that could be described as deep golden. And it's deep golden infused with rose for the softness, with violet for the quantum aspect, the miracle aspect, with emerald for forest, with lush green for healing, and with bright white for purification, and beautiful aqua for cleansing, and the gold, of course, to mend and harmonize and magic and heal, all of it. And this vision is representative, or is to represent what can't be put in physical form, or it would be, other than you have a body, but it's the beautiful, gorgeous, pure, innocent essence of you, your soul. The light that shines from your soul was the light that made your parents almost melt with love when you were first born, and subsequently. But that love that is inspired by a beautiful newborn baby, the purity of the newborn baby, is inspired by the light of the soul. That's the essence, that's the truth, that's who you really are, underneath all the layers and the habits and the behavioral patterns and the defenses and disguises, the masks, the layers, the pretenses, the acts, and all the rest of it. This is who you really are. And from the back of you, when I say this is who you really are as an individuated form, this is your essence, your soul. But this soul is merely one expression of, one flower in the garden of, the great one, the great soul. And that is the presence that sits in the back of you and extends backwards forever and ever, of course, all around you. And allow, from the back of you, rather than shunting it from front of you, allow a gentle radiance of this light. And it doesn't have to be bright light. It can be experienced as opaque. That doesn't mean it's dirty. It's just that we are not able necessarily in our present human state to see that frequency of light. It's happening in another dimension. So don't expect too much of yourself. Don't sensationalize it unless you feel you have to. It's just a sense of light. Now, as you inhale, you can detect the essence of the same light in the field all around you, imbued with the force of self-healing, self-approval, self-validation, self-appreciation, self-celebration, and self-directed kind compassion. You can feel it permeate you as you breathe in through every pore. So there's this influence coming from a Tao that's saying, love yourself, or I love you, you're beautiful, you deserve to be here, you're worth it, you're valid, I approve of you, you are healed, be here, I appreciate you, I celebrate you. And feel that energy coming in as you breathe in through every pore in your skin and collect in your heart in that area of the chest. And then as you exhale, see that same aspect of the healing golden light in your own bone marrow. Feel it coalesce and stream through your heart into the field. So as you exhale, it's like you're gathering the golden light from every cell in your body, including even your bone marrow, and streaming it through your heart, through the heart area, into the field for the good of everybody. It's just universal. And as you breathe in and breathe out, which you can imagine doing through the center of that opening in the chest, if you imagine now that the breath is actually coming in and going out through that opening in the chest, you soon find yourself at least glimmering a sense of the continuum of self-love, of the Tao, the big presence, loving itself. Now, see the inadvertently transmitted stream of hitherto toxic chi derived from your complex insecurities and perceived deficits that you've been projecting into the field, such as it was, and also the same for that projected by all or any others in your life. And see this love that we're breathing, this light that is coming from each of our hearts as we sit in this circle all the way around the world here. This light we're breathing in and out through our hearts that is not ours, it's everywhere, it's everyone's. This love, see the effects of it, so powerful, albeit gentle, that it cleanses and neutralizes all that toxic chi and instantaneously transforms it back into pure love. So you're breathing in and out, and as you're doing it, even that is neutralizing the effects of any toxic chi sent into the field by either you or the other. So that the field is just pure love that you're breathing in, and this is the field that is presently, not just in your imagination, connecting you to all the people in your orbit, all the people you love, all the people you're ever going to love, and including everyone in this circle right now, and eventually, of course, which is the theme of next week, spreading out to all our brothers and sisters of the human family and all sentient beings. Now, see everyone, or get a sense of everyone who's in your ambit. That's your beloveds, all the people that you can think of. And don't get scared or superstitious if you think you're going to forget one or two. It doesn't matter. It's not like that. This isn't the personality we're dealing with here. It's not a test. It doesn't have to be done perfectly. It just needs the energy sent this way. Picture pretty much everyone you can is in your world. You can see it like a school photo or something. Just a whole crowd of everybody that you love. You can even have people gone who aren't here anymore. And there's sort of vague sense of, on the periphery, people coming towards it, the group that you haven't even met yet. See everyone in your ambit standing before you, and as if by absolute illusionism, see the mask of each one fall away to reveal the presence. And note how there's actually only one presence behind each and every one of them, and behind you too. Same presence. Now, even with just a glimmer of that, let yourself love the presence so you become aware of this ineffable, inexplicable, undescribable presence, the Tao, that's informing everyone and everything. We don't know why, we don't know how it does it really. We certainly don't know what it is. It doesn't matter, we feel it, we are it, and it is amazing. Just love it. If you need to, you can even say in your mind, I love you, I love you. You don't have to, just let your heart do it. Just get a sense of just loving the presence. Bathe, caress, massage the presence with your love. Let your heart near burst with love for it. In all its disguises, They're merely the surface disguises in each of the people you see before you. And be aware that everyone here in our circle is doing exactly the same thing. And let the presence behind everybody love you back now. Let it really love you back. I mean, literally, feel that love so deep you feel it in your back where you're sitting. You're sitting right back. You don't have to come forwards to receive this. You just sit back and you let the love come in through the heart. Just let the presence love you and let that love penetrate all the way into your back like a beautiful warmth. And flow backwards with it, because it's a force, further and further and faster as you go, getting bigger and bigger behind you as you do so. And as you do that, just feel the love engulf you and embrace you from behind as well as from the front, from the sides, the corners, the above, the below. Feel the presence engulfing you, embracing you from every angle with love. See and feel the infinite field connecting all of us, all of everybody we can even ever possibly imagine, without limit, and breathe the golden light of healing in and out through the heart, through the chest, and let's just intend this to cause the love factor to increase and amplify. You can even say it, love factor, or however you want to address it. Increase and amplify yourself. And know that as we're doing this, as we're upping the intensity and amplitude of this love, the Tao is smiling, increasingly broader and jollier, until the entire multiverse is felt by us right now and seen by us having the most wonderful time and heaving with a new level, a new measure, a new intensity and amplitude and purity of love. Because we're breathing it in and out, we are doing this service. The Tao is smiling from the very core of its subatomic heart all the way out to the furthest reaches of this infinite universe. It's smiling because it likes this. It's feeling happy now. This is the love that heals everything from the subatomic level outwards. And know now and intend that as this divine fiat, this outburst of light, is occurring at our bidding, by way of reward for our essentially selfless and well-meant acts of service here that we've just done, an entire slew of unprecedented miracles will be spontaneously activated and accelerated for each of us present, the signs of which and the actualities of which will present themselves, I posit, in the hours and the days following this session without delay or impedance. So start to wriggle your toes, your fingers, your nose, and come back into the so-called everyday state. Next week, interestingly, we're shining the golden light of magic healing on humanity in total, and the complex situation of our world in its complex state of complex crisis. We'll be shining that healing light so strong everyone on us will feel it and will relax their grip on the trigger, yet do what they have to do. And as the way for peace we initiate what's through humanity, spurring on those inspired by the urge for love and peace to do what they have to do, we may even see an increase of sanity. So come back, and this is the time for the Q&A. Over to Sue. We've got time for just a few.
Hello.
Hey.
So we're going to start with an anonymous one for you, Stephen. And there's a little bit of background before the question. So that is, my own child is grown up, and a year ago I met my true twin flame after not meeting for 25 years. He lives in a different country and has 3 non-English speaking children between 6 and 10. I'm leaning back and receiving how to be, which works amazingly in each new moment and situation. However, recently my partner has had difficulty with showing me affection in front of or at the same time as the children. He works abroad in a third country, so we don't spend much time together. He is very attentive when we're together. He has just asked me to move to his children's country to live with him next year. We are destined to be together. We both know this. My question is, when he's struggling to pay me attention, is there a pressure point or Taoist exercise that can help me override the sadness I feel at these times? He acknowledges he has a problem with this and is working on it, but I feel I need something else to help me. Thank you, wonderful Steph. So much love.
It's a pleasure, Anonymous. I'm going to answer this Anonymous too. I think that he's probably been hypnotized by our culture to believe that he has a problem with it. In fact, why is it a problem? That's his way of dealing with it at the moment, and it's probably the appropriate way of dealing with it at the moment. We're not babies, are we? So you know when he's doing that it's not because he doesn't love you, and you just have the sense to know he feels his kids need the protection from the information overload they'd have to deal with otherwise, and so maybe ease in slowly. I mean, it's respect for the kids. It might not be the way that you'd have thought would be the coolest way or the smoothest way, but that's just the way he's doing it. And if you could take the judgment of it, it's not a problem. It's just the way of doing it. By respecting that, you'll find it probably eases off much quicker anyway. And with these things, they take time. And we have to respect the children's fragile, delicate state. I imagine that's why he's being protective. And just know that it's all going to be fine, and actually enjoy these strange sensations that occur when you're not getting the attention you think you should have, because that's where we grow. That's where we grow. And this technique of being in the back so that you know that he's just present, you're present, and that the whole thing is a transpersonal dynamic more than it is a personal one, by which we're all growing into the fullness of the one. It becomes a lot easier then to sit with that. And there is a point, yes, but it's not about the sadness. It's really about patience, because I think that's what this is really all about, which is you press on the base of your throat onto the notch at the top of your breastbone, which is anatomically called the supraclavicular fossa. It's that U-shaped dent at the very top in the middle of your breastbone. And if you put your finger onto the bone, you press down on the bone, and then push the bone down a bit, 4 ounces, not much pressure. 2 minutes or 2 seconds even of doing that, and your patience levels increases dramatically. All the drama drops down. It's all the mist clears from the eyes, and you realise it's not about you. It's not about anyone really. It's just the theatre of life unfolding. Relax, enjoy, don't judge, observe, and everything will come to pass in the most beautiful way. Also, at all times, hold the intention for what you want, which is, as I'm surmising, a harmonious, integrated family dynamic where everybody's freely communicating, expressing affection as they wish and feel, in a way that works for everybody. That's sort of intention. Hold the intention, but don't be impatient for it to. Don't contrive it to occur. Allow it to occur.
Great.
And the next.
We just have one other question at the moment, Stephen. So this question is from Julia. And she says, I'm drawn to help others. I do this as best as I can. Often I feel vulnerable afterwards as I worry if what I've offered is good enough.
That's interesting. Well, I guess, that Julia, that's not dissimilar to the artist cycle. As creator, you create a piece of music, or you write something or whatever, and then you put it out into the world as a form of help for everybody. It's a gift to people to enhance their experience in whichever way. And then you tend to worry whether it was good enough. Did that work? Did they get it? Was it well done enough? Who knows? That kind of thing. I think it just goes along with being human, really. It's the low self-esteem part of it. But it's quite fetching, isn't it? It's nice to be humble like that, not to know. However, the other aspect of it is that you have been guided, called upon to transmit the gift of the Tao to that person. Like destiny required that a gift was given, and you did it to the best of your ability, and you were just merely acting as a conduit. They were merely acting as a receiving dish, and this was all really all about the theatre of life playing itself out at an archetypal level, regardless of what the personalities believe it's about. So just assume that whatever you do, if done with fullness of yourself brought to bear on it, is good enough. And nothing's going to be perfect. And their approval or validation is actually not important at all. The validation you require comes from the field, as I was just describing. The Tao is saying to you, you're beautiful. Your gift is gorgeous. This is what you're here for. You can improve it if you want, and that would be beautiful too. That's up to you. Work on it. That's all fine. And do that. Yeah, working on it is good. Nonetheless, as you are, what you've done, as you've given it, thank you very much. That was beautiful. And you are too. That's the validation you need. It's from the inner self, from the Tao. And the next one.
This is the last one actually, Stephen, and it starts with a thank you, and it's from Jen, who said, just want to say thanks for your kindness last week to my question. It was really helpful and really meant a lot. Is the mask of another that may harm us there to remind us to self-love and take ourselves out of that harmful situation? And she said, another great satsang, Doc.
Thank you, Jen. I thought for a minute you were saying, is the mask of the other. I thought, well, this is very esoteric. The mask is interesting that, yeah, because masks can be quite hard things, can't they? There could be a wooden mask or a plastic mask with jutty bits and things that if you get too close or you bang into it, it's going to hurt your face. It will hurt your mask, basically. And yes, so when we do get fooled by the appearance of the other, which we do tend to if it's not a harmonious situation, it reflects what is going on under the surface of ourselves, that's all. So when you come to a place where you have learned to be in good relation to yourself enough, that you live in enough harmony with yourself, with enough self-validation and all the rest of it, the other that you meet, say you met someone at that point, would reflect that at you. They would be the same. They would reflect that harmony. They would treat you as you treat yourself. It's more difficult with someone you're moving through a situation with because you were at a certain place with yourself, then you grow, and it takes them a while to match that, but they will in time. So it really is down to what are you, the other is just there to show you what you're doing. So if someone's really horrible and hurtful, you look at how am I being horrible and hurtful to myself, because that's what they're showing me. And of course, you've got to remember that your soul, this essence of you, will always move you out of the way of danger when it gets too much for you to deal with. Providing your destiny is to continue on the path, it will move you out of the way of that danger. When the soul can't take any more pain in a situation, it will move you out of it. And it will, you'll get that faster in certain situations than others. But generally, it's really about mentally thanking the person for showing you what you're doing to yourself. As soon as you've seen that, and that then undoes the compulsion of it, you make an intention to be in a different way with yourself. The other will spontaneously respond to that by treating you differently, or you'll find yourself moving out of their orbit because the lesson has been taken. You've acknowledged the presence in them because you know that's what's come here to teach you the lesson. You realize the disguises and who they are. You thank the presence for its intervention. Therefore, you've received the gift, you've received the blessing, and therefore the presence can change its shape for you then. It doesn't have to keep being that person. That person will be moved out of your orbit, or they'll transform and become kind or whatever. Things happen, it does occur like that. So this is the thing. Next week, we're going to be doing the light of magic on humanity, which sounds grandiose, but I don't know if you've been looking at the news at all, but we are in a slightly critical situation, which is increasing day by day at the moment, i.e. there's a lot of tension and a lot of big plays out to occur. And it's important to antidote that with as much love, healing as we possibly can. As nebulous as it may seem, it does have an effect. And there's a progression here from loving the self, loving people close to us, to loving everybody, keeping it real rather than just imaginary, to some extent at least. And it will be amazing if you can be there. However, for now, know that even just touching on what we just did, there will be released a slew of events now for you that will start straight away pretty much, which will bring you unprecedented experiences of love. You're going to receive love in many ways from different people. Surprises will occur. And remember that at the root of it all, every single thing that happens, and this is a vow warrior takes, I vow to receive everything that comes my way as an expression of the Tao's absolute love for me, no matter how it looks. And the more we're willing to do that, and it takes courage, the more everything becomes that anyway. And that's what I wish you. A week of untold blessings of joy and bliss and rapture on every level, in every aspect of your life. Thank you so much for being here. It's been an honor, a privilege, and a deep pleasure. Bless your heart, and may the love fly. See you next week, I hope.
be dispelled. Let all pain, suffering be dispelled.